Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We are the Fargonauts. I am Eric, and I'm here with my Broichi boys, Tyler and Wilson. Say hello.
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 We are a veritable Huey, Dewey, and Louie, I would think.
Oh yeah.
Dubert and Lubert.
Yep. Which is apropos because today we are continuing our Disney Saturday morning cartoon pilot watch through, similar to what we did with the 80s cartoon pilots. We'll watch all these and do a little tier list at the end. This week, we have another banger. We did Goof Troop last week. This week, we have DuckTales. A little fucking bow, 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 bow.
I would
Yep.
say this one, out of all of them, was the most hype I would be for a show on Disney.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid, like I did enjoy Goof Troop and those, but like when it came to DuckTales, I was like,
Oh yeah, DuckTales was on. That's an auto stop. I'm auto watching that.
Oh yeah, you
There
see
was-
those ducks?
there was something great about
Those tails.
they're like Indiana Jones adventures for kids, and like
Yeah.
if you guys remember like Tintin,
Yep.
where like Tintin every episode of his show he'd like do like a country spanning and like nation jumping
Mm-hmm.
plot like story of a mystery and things like that. This was a more condensed version of that, and like not
Yep.
as serious, because a lot of those Tintin shows were serious. Like there was like guns blasting in those and stuff, but like
Yep.
as a kid, I was into those like mystery, action, and like kind of spooky things like Scooby-Doo, DuckTales,
Mhm,
obviously, and yeah, Tintin. But yeah, there was something about that like really connected with me.
It was a lot of fun. Little origin point here. This show was based off of the long running Uncle Scrooge comic book. The most popular of which were written and drawn by a man named Carl Barks, who he worked for Disney, quit Disney, started doing some comics, and started doing Disney comics at Dell/Gold Key. And he did those Duck comics from like the 40s or whatever, on and off, until probably like through the 70s, maybe.
Yeah, didn't they make a
There's other dudes who
documentary
did
about
it too,
him?
but yeah. He was nobody, because it was a Disney comic, and a lot of comics back then anyway did not credit who was doing what, but Disney had the the mindset of this is created by Walt Disney, so he was never credited, so people picked up on his way of storytelling and stuff, and he'd be called the good duck artist. Until it wasn't until like the 80s probably where they like figured it out. But anyway, he was the one who created Uncle Scrooge, and I don't know if
Launchpad?
I don't think he created Hubert, Dubert, and Lubert, but he did create Uncle Scrooge, if I remember correctly. And they no, Launchpad was an
This is
invention for this.
original for this.
Yeah.
Which came first, DuckTales or Darkwing?
DuckTales.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is actually, there are a lot of these that are based off of those comics. The comics were very much like this, where they go to, foreign lands and have adventures. It's really cool if you ever feel like searching out some of that stuff. But yeah, similar as you, Tyler. I was like I was saying, I was always jazzed to see this come on. I know Wilson and I actually learned the theme song on bass and guitar together.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Do you
Love
remember?
that.
Do you remember any of it? Like, could you finger it?
No, I'd have to figure it out. I'd have to remember.
Like to finger it out?
You'd have to figure it out.
I could sing it. I mean, that'll never go away. Life is like a hurricane. It'd be like that now, dude.
It's another, yeah.
It's
Life be like that. Dude.
Very prophetic of this show.
But
It's
yeah,
a duck world, man.
all of these kind of all of these shows in general, but especially this like initial bunch of them between this, Tailspin, Chip and Dale, Darkwing Duck, like Goof Troop, like all these kind of initial couple years of Disney Saturday morning cartoons, especially, just had banger songs.
Yeah.
This might be the banger of all bangers. I'm not sure for this list, but at the very least, it's up there.
Chip and Dale.
Chip and Dale's a banger, dude.
Ranger, Chip and Dale, when they're danger.
Yeah. Dude, a lot of those theme songs fucking buck, dude. They're great.
Spin it in a minute. You can win it,
Yeah.
win it if it's spin it for the tailspin.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, those are gonna hit me in the nostalgia
Mhm.
balls so hard.
Yeah, dude. That's what I'm saying.
Nostalgia balls, go!
Go nostalgia balls!
Choose you, nostalgia balls.
Haha, I love you, nostalgia balls. Balls.
Shove yourself down my throat so that I have restricted breathing, nostalgia balls.
All right,
Oh,
I think we should jump into this this ducktail here.
I was having fun with the Nostalgia Balls commercials, dude.
I have something for you after we watch this episode, Broadshow, that you might like.
nostalgia balls.
Wait,
are not
nostalgia
recommended
balls?
for adults over 50. Oh,
No, I have a surprise.
Adults under 49.
I have a surprise for everybody. We have our first
right, good.
advertising read.
Oh, real?
What?
Oh, yeah. Tired of pushing that old noisy lawnmower around? Struggling to get that perfect lawn without worrying about gas or electricity? We've got a solution that's hopping mad. Introducing Toad Mow. Toad Mow is a revolutionary lawn care service that uses trained toads to mow your lawn. That's right, amphibians that feast on your grass until it's trimmed to perfection. Forget about blades, wires, and refueling. Just release a herd of hungry toads and they'll do the rest. Each toad is specifically bred to gobble up grass, working in teams for those extra large yards. No mess, no fuss, just nature doing the work for you. And the best part? They don't need to be fed. Your lawn is their buffet. And thanks to their bioengineered digestive systems, no need to worry about waste. Just let them hop away and your lawn's left pristine. Use promo code FARGO to get a bonus sack of Kentucky bluegrass fed bullfrogs, perfect for getting that flawless lawn edge. Toad Mow, where nature meets lawn care. Order now and your yard will never look better or more croaky.
Thank you, Broadshow.
Yeah, you're welcome. Toad Mow, TM.
So to get into DuckTales, what'd you guys think of this episode?
Loved it.
It kind of set up the dynamic.
It's another
of-
great.
another great intro. You're gonna say?
Well, I was just gonna say the intro. Yes, what I like about the intro too is that the lyrics tell you exactly what the show is, which is great.
That's and all
But-
like we were saying when it was playing. Like, I want to see all these things happen. Like, I want to
Oh yeah,
visit these episodes where they
Intrigue.
do these things.
lots of intrigue. But I was gonna say it's another great first episode where it did a good job of setting up characters, the situation that they find themselves in, then they're handed, like the challenge, the problem. They fucking do it. They come out the other side, and you're like, "This is what this show is now." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's it's just a good, solid first episode.
And it's always a lesson for Scrooge, which is great too. Like,
Yes.
he finds that his nephews or these kids that come to stay with him are like the real treasure, and every time he's
Yep.
put into like choosing like greed or love, he like always turns to love, which is great.
Yeah.
A great message.
It's him when we meet him, and throughout the series he's like this to a degree, but he's a very self-centered, greedy, lonely, money man, and the kids kind of, start, unraveling that rough exterior and get him, make him realize that there's more to life than just the money,
Yeah.
spending time with his boys.
Yeah.
That's a character trait that I've always liked about Scrooge, just like when he comes around to those feelings of family, loyalty, sentimentality, he's just as strong in his beliefs in those things as he is in his like belief in his wealth and money making and stuff. Like it's not as often that he talks about, oh, I'm here with my people, but when he does go into that mode, it's like admirable how strong he is in his representation of his love for these people and how far he'll go for them. And like when you're wrapped up in these adventures, it feels like impactful to see somebody going out of their way to learn these lessons and do these things.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and
The episode
with a name like Scrooge and with his demeanor
Yeah.
all the time, he always comes off as a hard ass. But he's
Right.
just a big softy.
Well, but I mean, he said in this episode he had to be smarter than the smarties and tougher than the toughies. So
Yep.
you can kind of see how somebody like that may be a little bit like coming off as like brusque or like not as personable.
Yeah, it becomes like
the average
jaded
person.
for like the life that he's lived. He's become a little jaded towards some stuff like
And-
that. But then
and
like
that-
seeing those kids, he also says something like, they remind me of myself when I was their age, like
Mhm.
Right.
their tenaciousness and they have like street smarts and edge, and
Yeah.
yeah, he really
Yeah.
sees himself in them, and that's why he chooses them over. I mean, I would totally choose those kids. They're so like, when they're sad about something and they make those noises, like that voice, it sounds so sad.
Well, they just come over, just like, we just missed you, Uncle Scrooge. It's like, aw, boys.
Yeah,
Ugh.
they may get into mischief, but it's
Oh, yeah.
typically well-meaning.
Yeah, it's rather innocent mischief.
Yeah, and there's only so much blame that you can really throw that way.
Right. And yeah, the episode basic setup is just fucking Donald was their caretaker, but he's going off to the Navy, and so he dumps the
Going off
boys
to
with
fight in a
his
war,
uncle,
going off
his
to
Uncle
war.
Scrooge. Yep. His Uncle
Fight a
Scrooge.
naval battle.
Their Uncle Scrooge too. And to take care of them, and the fucking Beagle Boys bust out, try to steal the ship. They try to stop them. And yeah, it's a fun little adventure. I have a fun fact for you.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I was wrong. Carl Barks also created Huey, Dewey, and Louie as well. But the voices of the Beagle Boys, two of the Beagles, Big Time Beagle and Baggy Beagle, were voiced by Mr. Fred from Scooby-Doo himself, Frank Welker.
Oh wow.
And Bank Job Beagle is voiced by Mr. fucking Optimus Prime, fucking Peter Cullen.
What?
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yep.
I like that.
So the two higher voiced ones obviously are Frank Welker, and then the higher. So you have Optimus and Megatron voicing the Beagle Boys.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, yeah.
I should have said Megatron instead of, but that's yeah. And then like, yeah. So the voice cast. I mean, it's a lot of people you expect from like '90s Disney stuff.
Right. We said Jim Cummings.
Any Rob Paulson in there?
Yep. Rob Paulson does various voices. Jim Cummings. The voice of Scrooge. He voiced Scrooge for over 40 years, actually,
Yeah. Like,
starting in 1974.
Oh, wow.
His name was Alan Young. The only thing we would probably, well, not only thing, but the only thing I see just in this brief blurb that we would recognize him from other than this is he played Wilbur on Mr. Ed. So Mr. Ed's
Okay.
the quote with Mr. Ed all the time, Wilbur.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was Scrooge and played him up until his death, pretty much.
Yeah.
But the boys, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, were voiced by Russie Taylor, aka Minnie Mouse.
Oh.
So-
All three of them by the same.
Mhm.
Because those voices are essentially the same thing. It's just
Oh, yeah.
slightly different intonations, maybe. If
Yep.
that.
And then the June Foray, the lady who voiced Rocky from Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yeah.
She wasn't in this episode, but she played Ma Beagle,
Yeah, I was
And-
thinking about Ma Beagle and
and then the sorceress character Magica Dispel was also
She-
played by her as well.
what like that's the thing about this show is like it's even starting out for people of our age, maybe we were like roughly familiar just from like osmosis, seeing
Yeah.
the Uncle Scrooge comic strips of Huey, Dewey, Louie, or even like I remember I had a like one of those golden books of
Mhm.
Donald and the boys.
Yep.
So we're like roughly familiar with it, but yeah, there's so many characters. The Beagle Boys, what was their Morgana, the sorceress,
Magica
like-
Dispel.
yeah, Magical Dispel. These characters like really stick with you.
Oh yeah, big time. It's one of those because like we were talking about earlier. This all started with that comic strip back in the fucking 40s or some shit.
Mhm.
And like the Donald Duck strip at the time, he would have the boys a lot, and that's when they would do like mischievous shit around the house, like standard mischievous little boy shit.
Right.
And then the Uncle Scrooge books were the like DuckTales, were them going on some big grand adventure, doing whatever, and I just love that like 40 years after that concept started, they were just like, should we make a cartoon out of this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because before this, I just thought Uncle Scrooge. I was like, oh, they just took the dude from their Disney's Christmas Carol,
Mhm.
Scrooge, and then they just made him that, and that's why his name's Scrooge. But no,
Yeah, I always just assumed that he was called Scrooge because he has like a slightly terse, personality, and he likes money,
Mhm.
and it was no further than that. But
Mhm.
And who's
find
the
out.
remind me the rival's name other than the Beagle Boy?
Glomgold,
And
Glomgold.
he's another
It's something else.
Scottish.
Flintheart Glomgold. Yeah,
Yes.
He's what's his voice actor?
Hal Smith. He played another old timey fucking TV show. He played Otis Campbell, the town drunk from the Andy Griffith Show. And he was also Owl on Winnie the Pooh in the first four original Winnie the Pooh shorts.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
Not sure.
And in New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, also the TV show.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe.
So Hal Smith, he was also Gyro Gearloose
I was
as well.
Yeah, like because I remember.
All right.
Well, is Gyro the pilot?
No, Gyro's the like tech guy, the
Yeah,
like mechanic.
Collar,
whatever.
Like purple
He's a chicken.
shirt. Yeah.
Yep.
What's the pilot's name again?
Launchpad.
Launchpad. Yes, thank you.
Launchpad McQuack.
Yeah.
And I like that. Like we start with just the boys and Scrooge and Donald, but then we get like the female younger girl, the like female caretaker who's on the staff, Launchpad, all these extra characters.
Yeah, you get their cousin Webby.
Yes,
Too.
Webby. Man, but and they feel like part of the crew. It's not just like
Oh,
and
yeah,
these
no.
characters come along later on.
Mhm.
It's just,
We got Pig.
we got pig.
We got Pig, dude. We got Dog.
Got Dog.
We got Pig. We got Dog. We got Duck.
We got dollar bills, y'all.
So many dollar bills.
Is this a two-parter? Because at the end it said two.
Nah. I don't, because it was if it is, it was a like a complete story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this was a complete story, but it's just like there's more to tell, probably about the boat that they got at the end.
Let me see.
Yeah, I'm looking right now.
Let me see.
Episodes, please.
List of episodes, please. Can I have the episodes? Episode
I'd like
2.
to see
It is
the
a part
episode.
2.
Okay. Well, I mean,
They thwarted the
felt-
Beagle
But
Boys though. Like they got
oh,
them...
dude, no, it's a goddamn
part 5.
5-parter, dude.
My God.
This is a mini movie to start off a show.
Yeah.
But even this first part.
But
then,
they're like each
felt pretty-
individual episodes, right?
Uh,
You know, like
Sure.
they don't feel like you're leaving it and you have to see the next. You know what I mean? Like you get a complete story in it, even though it's a 5-parter.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, well, but this first part does feel pretty complete because it wraps things up in a good way where the Scrooge learns a lesson about his family. The boys get their like woodchuck badges and help
Yep.
their Uncle Scrooge, and it feels like a pretty good complete like solo episode on its own.
Yeah. It just has that intrigue at the end of like, oh, I'm not done yet, and you're like, oh shit, you know. Yeah. It's not like the like 80s shows that we watched where like you needed the part 2 a lot. Like some of them you actually needed,
But
And,
Eric,
like-
this is an '80s show.
Oh, true. But I mean, like, you know what I'm saying?
I know. I'm literally
The last
just saying-
series of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's like the second half is like, oh, we could have probably gained some more stuff out of that second half, but this we're actually like, we're good.
This had a good like pace also comparatively to those
Mhm.
80s ones where it's like either fast or just like
Yeah.
just
Nothing.
Just like
nothing.
Goof Troop too. It was like it moved, but there was not enough time given for things. There's a lot of story, but still a lot of action.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
well paced out.
It's Disney, so they've like spent enough money that over
Yeah,
time,
they know what this is.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. And then B, it's like they probably learned a bunch of lessons from those other things in the 80s to now move on to the 90s and start doing these better, for lack of a
Right.
greater
Oh, yeah.
choice there.
I want to know
What love is?
I want you
Sure.
to show me.
I want you to show me.
Don't
I
tell
wanna
me.
feel.
Tell me.
what love is. I know you can show me. No, the reason behind the 22-minute episode length for these, for animation specifically, if there was like a discussion like, you know what works best to tell a story with animation is just a 22-minute. Like with
Is that
commercial,
the-
like 11 minutes commercial, 11 minutes, we're done.
I think that you're
think it's
looking
all-
at it in reverse a little bit.
Yeah. I think we need fucking. This is a half hour. We have so many commercial breaks. Here's what we have.
You're like you're required to have at least this many minutes, up to 8 minutes of ads. Work with whatever else
Yeah.
you have.
Yeah.
But like, so the limitations of knowing that you have ads dictates how you're gonna pace your story.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know like
That's why they're all like 22 minutes.
there's that
It's because
trope,
they all.
the trope in cartoons where it's like about to go to a commercial and they zoom in with like some creepy music, like the bad guys are gonna have their time, like, oh, here comes the bad guy, he's gonna do something really bad to our main guys, or it like zooms in on like a character being scared. Like that happened in Turtles where it's like, uh-oh, and then it has like
Yeah.
a noise that goes boom, and then like
It's like-
it cuts to commercial. And you're like, oh,
Mhm.
on the edge of your seat, I better stick around and wait till the ads are done.
Yep. Oh yeah, but that's just it. Is they know how many ads they're gonna have to do, so they know how many minutes they have per segment, and they have to, you know, what I mean, like that's a thing they know ahead of time. That's why all of them are 22 minutes, because they all kind of are built off that same formula and know that after so many minutes here, we're gonna have a break. After so many minutes here, we're gonna have a break. It's kind
Yeah.
of
I want to know when that started though. Like that's where my question is, like, how did that
Well,
come about?
we already saw back in the 80s because
yeah.
you
It very much feels like an 80s thing.
It's do you think it
it,
started in the 80s, or because it could have
no,
happened way
it
before that?
it started in the
The
60s,
formula of it all, maybe. But,
like because
well, I suppose it's not just, you know, it's television shows that follow that. It's not
Yeah.
just animation, obviously.
because I'm thinking about like taking one step back, two steps back, three steps back. You can look at like, oh, this example and that of they just reuse the same, like you said, it's like the same like shot of on this character's face, on that. They find that one segment of animation that they can reuse or the multiple ones, and it's just to cut to commercial. And yeah, that probably started way back when with like Golden Bat, you know, and like the early animation broadcasts that were happening outside of the US, maybe? I don't know.
Well, so many shows, especially live action, you know, shows, were, you know, like the variety hours and stuff, and a lot of stuff from back in the day were all sponsored by certain products or certain companies. So it was built into their show. I'm talking like the 50s and stuff, where they every so often would have to cut and do a promo for the sponsor
Yes.
of the show.
Like Lawrence Welk would have
yeah.
to do like ad reads like right in the middle of his show. Like,
Yeah.
brought to
So
you
that's
by-
realistically, that's probably where it started, right? And then it just kind of developed from there as we got, you know, commercials, not just ad reads on a TV, right?
Yeah, I'm just thinking of how it's evolved too.
Or fucking radioed. You know what I mean?
I was just thinking radio. Yeah.
Yeah,
the
because
radio spots that
starts there.
would happen during the actual radio.
The ad reads during the thing, yeah.
The whole brought to you by.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they have to do it every so many minutes, and yeah.
But like
That's-
how it's
there we go.
evolved now, where it's like,
hmm It's a formula for everything.
but like we have things like Bluey where they're 8 minutes long, which is basically a block of
Yeah.
commercials. Sometimes you could sit there
Right.
watching 8 minutes of commercials and be like, well, that's just an episode of Bluey. So like things have gotten like to the point where we're gravitating away from that type of content being produced, because now you just binge. It's binge culture now.
Well, I was gonna say it's a lot of
It's
lot
not
of
even binge.
streaming.
It's streaming. It's the difference between a broadcast where you have to fill up the time slots of a half hour, an hour, and it can be 8 minutes because you can just release it through Disney Plus or through something else where time slots don't matter. You don't have to fill space. You can just have something be however long it is.
The interesting part of it is, though, is they are still formatted and formulated that way. Like, I would have thought that not having commercial breaks would mean that you don't have to do like obvious, this is where we go to commercial moments, you know?
Yeah.
Or you can have a full
screen right here.
or you could have a
when it goes.
full half-hour show. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But if it's a half-hour show, it's still 22 minutes long, and it still has built-in things that feel like commercial breaks.
exactly.
It's
So, like,
weird.
quote unquote,
We don't need that.
long things are only like 45 or 40
Yeah.
minutes when it's like
But it's because
where's the other 12?
they've gotten that science of writing shows that length down as far as story beats should go, that it's just like we're sticking with that because we know how to do that. Yeah, oh, like I get it, but it's also like
Here comes
it's doing an old thing for a new thing.
Here comes the new Fargonaut series of a like Hollywood autopsy where we just talk about like
We're getting in the
stuff.
weeds, dude.
Yeah. Like
Hey, that's why I brought that up, because I'm like,
Yeah.
that's where my mind goes, is like They told
Yeah.
like we talked about the pacing of this and how great of a pacing it is. How is it that the 80s episodes we watched where it was just bombarding you with visuals and like cracking wise at you the whole time, not telling a compelling story, but just there to sell you the toy? Like those shows were just a long advertisement for a toy. They didn't give you a lot
Sure.
of depth to like these characters. They didn't show you like compassion or love or like any of the things that we talked about during DuckTales, because we said like there's character dynamics, there's these kids, Scrooge has this like turn of his attitude towards them, but then you look at those 80s shows what we watched where it was just basic, just so
Yeah.
surface
Well,
level, like nothing.
I think there's a couple because currently you're setting this out as like a chronological or a time-based thing, as like one era versus another, when another way you could look at it is being the differences in the production studios or the teams working on this stuff. Because we could just as easily turn the dial back just a little bit and solely focus on Disney and see what they were doing at the same time on television and compare and contrast and do all this and that. But it's like Voltron. They found something that they could get for the cheap. They chopped it up and turned it into something else and made a profit on it. Versus like Hanna-Barbera. They tried 3 times at least with the same formula. They tried Silverhawks, they tried Thundercats, they tried Tiger Sharks. Didn't really like get the bang there. You know what I mean? Like it's those different studios trying these different things because they're trying to capitalize not only on the like over of the top, like the like because the 80s was all about consumption and fast paced and give me this, give me that, like the invention of fucking music videos and like the change of formats in the 80s and versus the 90s when you could like, okay, let's take a step back and we can learn our lessons from the 80s and see where we can make this decision versus that.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's a huge I don't know, structure that was probably built into the studios that were producing these. Like Disney probably had the mentality saying like, if you're gonna make something, we're gonna put money to this. We want to make it, last long. We want to make this like a classic. Whereas maybe the mentality at other studios that just did it for like selling a toy were like, you know what? We just want to get these elements on screen to get kids hyped up for the eventual toy that this thing like will become. Like there's probably
The
different
80s
mentalities in for different studios.
Well, see, again, let's tie this back to what we already talked about with the like radio, where it started with you had to do those advertisements because radio started as a way just to advertise and to sell things. And then fiction and media became a integrated part of that. And then we move forward into things even like Captain Howdy's Fun Time, where it's still like it's mostly media, but they fucking plug in all kinds of product placement and corporate integration, and continuing on and on and on, and we get to the point where it's like
To tie
you've
this,
got
hold on. What you just said brought another thing to my mind that can tie this together with DuckTales. So Scrooged with Bill Murray is basically that story where he is a head of a TV station that has to like abide by like all these components where it's like you have to sell. So what they were doing is like, we're gonna make this show, this live version of Christmas Carol for the studio, and then during it they're gonna sell all these great ads, and then that's his like his whole thing is like being a cutthroat businessman, but like trying to sell the studio or sell these ad placements for people and things like that, and like he's losing his soul because he's selling ads and things like that. But I think that's just an interesting concept for. Well, I mean, that's just another tangent that I could go on, but it's seriously like it's turning that whole concept of Scrooge, modernizing it because he's a miser, but they're frameworking it with advertising instead of, you know, penny pinching whatever Scrooge's occupation was back in the Christmas Carol book. I think he was just like a
banker or something
like that. I think he was a banker. Or he was like a tax dude,
some kind of financial. But my point was more that, like, in the beginning it was about selling a product, and then media became a part of it, and then eventually the media became the product, where, like, at some point we are probably very close here in DuckTales to the edge of hand-drawn animation versus digital. And when things like Recess, Pepper Ann, PB&J Otter, these like newer, and again, this is like a decade thing. They learned from the 80s that, we don't need to be so adherent to just using our media as an advertisement for a product, that the media itself can be the product. So we need to get people used to like watching these shows. And then from the shows, there's a natural, they're already used to, from this decade previous and the one before, to buying the products. And it was like a natural kind of like octopus, the tentacles getting everywhere kind of thing.
Yeah, and I would say that, you know, maybe it wasn't at the forefront of Disney Studios' mind to, you know, sell DuckTales toys or anything like that, but like, I'm pretty confident Disney just had like, we just got to show our characters on screen just to be relevant, that, you know, Disney still exists, we're producing things, and, you know, get people out to the Disney parks. You know, it's just, we just got to make things inviting and fun and family friendly. And that just, you know, sells our brand. That's our brand. We're just putting money behind this because we believe in it, and we think that this will in turn bring people to our parks, buy our merch, do whatever. But they created something that is a classic, like an instant classic. They knew the formula well. They knew to just have those catchy songs, and we'll see that in pretty much every other show we watch, I'm sure. And they'll hit us again in the nostalgia balls that we, you know, will go back to that point when we were watching them as they were airing, like, oh my god, yeah, it's this song, hell yeah. And they're still bops, they're still telling, you know, great stories, not just to kids. Like, kids don't have to just, you know, appreciate it. Everybody can appreciate these morals and these things like that. I think that's the essence of like the mentality studios should go with when they're making something, and not like, I don't know, just we're just going to produce this and hopefully it'll sell toys off the shelf, and then that's where we'll make up the money. Anything else? Anything else to add before we sign off? Which one do we want to do after this?
For next time.
Oh man.
If we're just continuing down the list, remember we were saying just like that list sounds good. We're just going to keep going down that.
Yeah, you're gonna have to remind us every time what's
yeah,
on the list.
Probably.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm going to
name them, but not in order.
Well, I listed them in an order, and you're like, that sounds good. We'll just do it that order.
But I won't know that order every time. I'd just
I know.
I know what was on it.
I know. I was just prefacing it with saying, like, since we're doing that, the next one on that list, then after DuckTales, it's time to get dangerous. It's fucking Darkwing Duck, my guy.
Okay.
So
we're gonna stick with ducks. Cool.
Let's get dangerous.
That's right. There was something about that show too that hit me. I was like, I'm done with you. It's like that meme of Andy throwing away Woody and, you know, like playing with the newer toy, because when Darkwing Duck showed up, I'm like, I don't want to watch DuckTales anymore. I want this edgy Darkwing Duck guy.
Because it's like, you know, it's obviously like a Duck Batman show, right? It's a little superhero show.
Like, I was totally into Batman. I'm like, oh, are you telling me there's a Disney Duck Batman? Hell yes.
The Disney Duck Batman, bro. When there's trouble, you call DW.
And after that, is it what is after that? Is it like
Yeah.
a gargoyles?
You want after that, dude?
Well, I'm just wondering because
It's Chippendale,
okay, okay,
and then it's Tails.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that. But I'm gonna be really excited when Gargoyles shows up because that was like, I would say that's
It's about midway through the list.
that's the Disney
Gargoyle.
that's the Disney Batman kind of. It was really dark.
Yeah, it was on at a similar time as Batman too.
Right.
Because the animated series started in '92. I think Gargoyles started in '94, maybe '96.
Okay. Well, stay tuned for when we watch those. And yeah, good discussion.
94.
I like that discussion. I like our tangents.
I like-
They go down different paths.
We
We
got
just
so
got to the
deep.
weeds about fucking ad reads and fucking the timing of segments and shit. Dude.
I'm
Yeah.
fine with it. I'm fine with it because I don't
Me
hear
too.
that a lot. I don't hear people talking about the origins of that and like how prevalent that became and how well it stuck around. And like nobody's really deviated from that formula for
Nope.
the history of TV or media.
Yep,
And yeah,
exactly.
see
Like
what
a whole
else.
different meaning to Mad Men. Like we're not ad men. We're just crazy.
Yep. We're just crazy about specific things that don't really matter. And
Each one of us going on our own like Charlie Kelly thread board. Like
let me talk about the mail. Can we talk about the mail? I've been dying to talk to you about the mail.
Listen to me about Dick Wolf.
So stay tuned for our deep discussions and digressions and tangents on Darkwing Duck